Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Board With Each Other Bite Size. This is the spin-off podcast from the main Board With Each Other podcast where we look at smaller, lighter games and expansions and review them quickly and snappily. We don't apply our usual scoring criteria, we just give an overall score at the end. And it's just something a little bit different that allows us to get more content out basically. So we hope you enjoy it. Today we are talking about a bit of a modern classic in Sushi Go. Minor classic in sort of the party game sphere. Sushi Go.
Very apt for bite size.
Yes, very apt for bite size. So Sushi Go is essentially a card-based set collection game where you are dealt a rather sizable hand of cards. 10 in the case of a two-player game. And you choose a card from your hand to put down, and then you pass your hand...
Face it down.
Yeah, face down. And then you pass your hand to another player. So if you're playing with multiple people, as the game should be played, we'll get onto that, you pass the cards to the left, and then you have a new hand. And the main crux of the game is basically remembering what cards are out there in play and trying to collect sets or put down high-scoring cards. There are a variety of different sort of set modes that you can collect. There's the straight up, you need to collect 2 of these or 3 of these. There's cards that you need to place down before placing other cards to increase their points. There are cards that you get the most points for having the most of.
And there's pudding.
There is pudding, and puddings basically reward massively the person who has the most at the end of the game, not the end of the round. The game is played over 3 rounds, should have mentioned that. And whoever has the most puddings at the end gains 6 victory points. Whoever has the least loses 6 victory points, which can usually actually make the difference at the end of the game. That's all there is to it. It's one of those games that you can teach people to play in literally 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. I taught my just turned 5-year-old daughter to play it without any issue, and she plays it quite fine. So this should be one you can introduce to any age group. So with that being said, thoughts on Sushi Go? Thoughts on when we first tried it?
I think... So it's a really colourful, vibrant, fun game.
It is, yes.
So it's quite aesthetically pleasing to play, and I think it kind of really suits the theme in terms of, you know, it being really quick, snappy, almost a bit pulpy.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's that sort of fun, easy breezy vibe to it, isn't there? Yeah. It's just really, really relaxed and chill, and also very snappy to play. As soon as you start playing, things start to go really quickly and things move really quickly. Yeah,
so I mean, it's probably worth mentioning that rounds probably don't even take more than 5 minutes.
No, you can get through
it's really, really
fast.
Quick. And, you know, you don't spend hours agonising over turns, which is probably a good thing.
Good thing for something like this.
Yes. Because of that, I think it's really suitable for people who are not gamers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a really good party game. It's a really good way of, like, warming you up at the start of a night.
But yeah, it's that kind of quick to pick up, quick to play, no setup required, no real rules overhead. In terms of playing the actual game itself, I mean, I think we should probably address the elephant in the room straight off the bat with this. Mm-hmm. This was never designed as a 2-player game.
No.
And it is not great at 2 players. This is one of those games that you kind of need 4 or 5 people, really, to make it fun.
I mean, really, when you're playing it as 2 players, it just becomes a memory game. It's, can I memorise these cards? And can I work out what it is that you're playing, and therefore whether I'm going to try and strategically block you or whether I'm just going to try to go down a different route.
Yeah.
And that kind of then sort of takes that... It just makes it a memory game, really. I think when you've got more people there, there's a huge element of luck. You're trying your best to get what you can. Yeah. And it probably creates a bit more...
There's a bit more chaos and a bit more of a level playing field, I think, when you've got more people going for it. And I think there's a risk-reward aspect to it, particularly with some of the sets, because some of the higher scoring ones, sashimi, you need to get 3 of those out on the table to get 10 points. If you fail to get those 3, you get nothing. And it's essentially a waste. It's a waste of 2 card plays otherwise, or 1 card play, depending on how you approach it. That's quite easy to tell whether it's a goer or not when you're playing with 2. I think it becomes more challenging when you're playing with 4 people or 5 people, because obviously you don't really you have to kind of take a swing at it. And I think the more people that take a swing at it, the less of those are going to be floating around. So it creates a much more interesting dynamic than 2 people. You basically just, once you swapped hands, you know, and you can check, and you go, oh well, that's it then, really. Which is where it falls down flat as a 2-player game, I find.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it is a short and a quick game. But I think that we have seen other versions of this or other iterations of it that have had a bit more depth to them.
Yeah, I mean...
Have sort of given something a little bit extra.
Yeah, well, the prime example is Planted, and I think that begs the question, has Planted killed us for you?
At a two-player game, yes.
Absolutely,
I mean, they're two very different games that are aimed at, I think, a different setting or environment. You couldn't crack out Planted, in a pub or, at a family Christmas do, sort of family Christmas lunch or something.
It's worth mentioning it's the same designer.
Yeah.
The same designer. They designed both. And yeah, there is that difference. But as a game that I would choose to play, I have to say Planter completely killed this.
Yeah.
Because it's this, but with extra stuff.
Yeah.
Basically.
And we've got something else on our shelf that I think also is better than this. So, Cryptozoology.
Yes, Cryptozoology, yeah.
Yeah, which again takes the same sort of thing, but...
It's a similar formula, but messes with it, with card actions. But we will get to that in another episode. Yeah. Let's not talk about Cryptozoology, but
But I guess that's my point, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Sushi Go is almost a household name for board gamers.
It's one of those games you kind of buy in W.H. Smith before W.H. Smith started selling board games with a capital B, for example, not W.H. Smith's Water Zones. Sorry, I want to get the two mixed up.
So I think, it has its place, but I do think that since then there are better adaptations.
Modern Classic has perhaps been surpassed in recent times.
Yeah,
I would agree with that completely. I think... Go on.
So here's a question. Would you ever reach for it on our shelf? I know that we play it as a family, but like between you and me, would you ever...
No, not if the two of us are playing. I think there are at least 50 games I'd reach for first, kind of thing. I think, as we say, it's been surpassed now.
Yeah.
And particularly at 2. And I'm not going to mark it down purely... If we were doing our proper scoring criteria, this would get savaged in the two-player thing. The two-player criteria. However, it is never designed as a two-player game, and that's fine. So I'm not gonna moan about that too much. Just be warned, if you do think about playing this at 2, it definitely does fall flat on its face in that environment.
But I would also say that it's got we're not going to get rid of it, though, are we? I don't think. I think it will sit on our shelf for quite some time because it is something you can crack out. If somebody is new to board games and wants to have a bit of a foray, then this is a good point to start with.
It is something I'd recommend people have on the shelf because it is, if somebody's never played a board or card game since they were a kid, it's the kind of thing that you can crack out and actually pique a little bit of interest. And it does. It looks neat. It's nice. It's got this great cutesy art design that feels quite iconic at this stage. I think you've just seen it around so much.
Small footprint on your shelf.
Yeah, small footprint. It comes in a tin, which I like, especially for travel, because the cards aren't going to get busted. Which is a good thing, because one of the things I would say about it is the card stock is exceptionally cheap.
Yeah.
In this.
And again, when you've got big hand sizes, it's a lot of moving cards around, shuffling cards.
There's a lot of shuffling, there's a lot of fast-paced handing cards to each other as well, or popping them down on the table, and cards do get frayed that way. And I've noticed we haven't played with our copy that much, and the cards are quite frayed.
That could be something to do with the aforementioned 5-year-old.
Yeah, a little bit, but I don't think it's just that. I think it is quite cheap card quality stock, so just, buyer beware in that sense. But yes, I do agree with you. It's something worth having on the shelf, and it fills a particular niche that's the step above cracking out Uno, I guess, to something a little bit
Nothing
more.
wrong with Uno.
No, there's nothing wrong with Uno.
I love a good game of
Uno.
That's
not me saying Uno's rubbish or anything. I just think, there's that base level of board game that everybody's, people have played Uno and chess and, the real basic household names. And then there's the step...
Did you just equate chess with Uno?
So what have I done?
Oh my god.
As an Uno master.
But like a chess idiot.
That's me, a chess idiot. No, but poor comparator. It wasn't a comparison. It was just household names. But it's that step into the hobby from those household names, I guess. And it may be a stepping stone for some people. It may very well be. And even if it's not a stepping stone, it might be something that you can play with your non-board game friends. And they'll be perfectly happy doing so.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add before we finish off?
No, I think my just general conclusion is that it is a good, solid game. It's well loved. It's, what did you call it, a modern classic. And I think, it is for a reason. Is it a good two-player game? No, probably not.
Definitely not, no.
But I think it's a good, solid game.
So what would you score Sushi Go?
From a 2-player perspective, because that's what we're about, I would probably give it a 5.
Yeah, if it was a 2-player game, I'd probably give it a 3.
Yeah.
Which feels very, very harsh for something like that, but we are a 2-player board game podcast. I would give it a 3 for that basis as a board with each other score for what it is that we do as a podcast. It has to be very low for me, I think.
I've upped it because it's a modern classic.
Okay, fair enough. In general, though, much more recommended if you are playing with large groups. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my score because that's what we do.
Fair enough.
Okay, so nice, short, sharp and snappy. That's how we do these. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you are finding us through this content, the short ones, we do much deeper dives into other games on our monthly podcast. So please do take a look.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. If you enjoyed what you heard here. But until next time, be good to each other, have fun and play lots of board games.